Derana 24/7.
UN Human Rights Chief underscores the need for having hybrid accountability mechanism. Sri Lanka and Russian heads of state meet, vows to strengthen bilateral relations. London attack, ISIS claims follower was behind the rampage. Live across Sri Lanka, this is Derana 24/7. Good evening, I'm Mahesh Johnny, and here's a first look at the local stories. The UNHCR resolution seeking a 2-year extension of the timeline given for Sri Lanka to fulfill commitments in the previous resolution 30-1, adopted on the 1st of October 2015, was passed with 47 countries co-sponsoring. Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Harsha De Silva, speaking to Derana from Geneva, said the resolution was passed without a vote.
At the UNHRC in Geneva, the resolution on Sri Lanka 34/L1 was adopted without a vote. Fact size original 4 who co-sponsored, subsequently 11, has now totaled up to 47 countries, which is in fact sign that shows the global community is with us in this long and arduous road towards reconciliation. It just shows that the world believes us and has faith in us, that we should be given more time to work on the undertakings of 30/1, which was co-sponsored in 2015. So all in all, it's a good outcome. We have not changed the text of the original resolution, and it is only to get another 2 years for us to come back to Geneva and make a written submission.
The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Zaid Ra'ad Al Hussein, said that Sri Lanka has made promising progress regarding constitutional reforms. However, the UN Human Rights Chief said that international participation in a judicial mechanism is required for a credible investigation into allegations of war crimes. He said this making a statement at the 34th session of the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva yesterday, discussing the human rights situation in Sri Lanka.
I note promising progress regarding constitutional reform, with the Parliament establishing itself as a constitutional assembly. What is needed now is agreement on a comprehensive strategy with a timeline and detailed benchmarks to address all transitional justice pillars. The consistent failure to effectively investigate, prosecute and punish serious crimes appears to reflect a broader reluctance or fear to take action against members of the security forces. Combined with a general lack of trust in the impartiality of the justice system regarding past violations, this continuing unwillingness or inability by the authorities to address impunity reinforces the need for international participation in a judicial mechanism.
Speaking at the session, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs Dr. Harsha De Silva said Sri Lanka will co-sponsor the resolution.
We thank the Council, the UN and our bilateral partners for their support to strengthen reconciliation in Sri Lanka and for this extension of the timeline. We will listen to all, we will study all reports carefully, we will exchange information, share our concerns and comments, engage constructively and meaningfully with our partners, and take the necessary steps required to ensure that Sri Lanka is a nation that is prosperous, united in its diversity, upholding human rights, justice and the rule of law.
Speaking at the subsequent interactive dialogue session, delegates of countries including China, Japan, the UK, Pakistan and the US voiced their support for the resolution and commended Sri Lanka's progress made so far.
We have confirmed the intentions behind the government's continued efforts toward national reconciliation in cooperation with the international community since the adoption of Resolution 30/1 of this Council. Japan urges the government to take steady and rapid action based on the resolution.
We welcome the High Commissioner's report and join him in recognising the steps taken by the government of Sri Lanka since January 2015 to improve the human rights situation.
China commends Sri Lanka for its efforts and achievements in areas such as promoting national reconciliation. China supports the efforts by Sri Lanka to promote and protect human rights.
We call upon the international community to continue to provide relevant assistance and support, as requested by the Government of Sri Lanka in strengthening the country's democratic institutions.
Since September 2015, Sri Lanka has taken important steps toward implementing its key human rights, justice, and reconciliation commitments. Yet lasting peace requires that the government remain committed in word and deed to implementing its international commitments fully.
In response to representatives of certain NGOs voicing their concern over granting a further 2 years for Sri Lanka to fulfill commitments, the High Commissioner had this to say during the interactive dialogue.
To jump to conclusions at this stage and then out of fear not take any steps forward, we believe is misplaced. We believe that the point made in our report in September 2015 deserves further consideration by the government, and that the need for a hybrid accountability mechanism is therefore something that we continue to underscore.
Also in one of our headline stories, Sri Lanka and Russia have pledged to enhance economic cooperation and build a strong foundation to take bilateral relations to a new high. These sentiments were expressed by President Maithripala Sirisena, who held bilateral discussions with his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin at the Kremlin in Moscow, Russia today. Several new agreements are to be inked with Russia during President Sirisena's state visit.
President Maithripala Sirisena was received with a guard of honor at the Kremlin's Alexander Garden when he visited the Red Square to place a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. President Maithripala next met his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin for bilateral discussion. The two presidents, referring to the 60th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Sri Lanka and Russia, agreed to take effective steps to ensure strong bilateral relations. Russian President Putin extended his fullest support to President Sirisena's policies.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe told Parliament that all necessary measures have been taken to combat the situation of increased dengue cases in the Trincomalee and Kinya areas. The Prime Minister was responding to concerns raised in Parliament that the epidemic situation could be a potential threat to Sri Lanka's tourism industry.
මේ අවුරුද්දේ මේ මාස 3 තුල ඩෙන්ගු රෝගයේ වැළඳීම හා පැතිර යාම දිගින් දිගටම උත්සන්න වෙමින් පවතී. අලුත්ම වාර්තාවක් තියෙනවා ජාත්‍යන්තරව පළ වෙලා killer at large, the rise of dengue in Sri Lanka. This is an international news that is spreading today in all the international websites. දැන් කොළඹ හොඳයි කිව්වා ඊට පස්සේ කින්යාවේ මත වුණා. ඇමතුමත් දැනට සභාවේ නැහැ. උපඇමතිතුමත් සභාවේ නැහැ. ලංකාවේ සෞඛ්‍ය තත්ත්වය මෙන්න බෙදලා තියෙන තත්ත්වය. සභානායකතුමාවත් මේකට අද උත්තරයක් දෙන්න.
මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ජාතික ප්‍රශ්නයක්. ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම රජය මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන් පියවර අරන් තියෙන දැන්ටමත් විශේෂයෙන්ම ත්‍රිකුණාමලයේ ප්‍රදේශයේ සහ කින්ය ප්‍රදේශයේ
ජාත්‍යන්තර සංචාරක ව්‍යාපාරයටත් මේක බලපාන. But it is still not being taken into consideration by the government.
You are giving a statement, no, Honourable Leader of the House.
I would like to comment on what the Honourable Minister has said and Leader of the House. On regard as Trincomalee, the resources have been given and they have been working on Trincomalee and then they went into Kenya, they have gone into the houses there. Government has made all the resources available, as the Minister said, endorse it. The three services, the police, the National Ministry of Health and the Provincial Ministry of Health, all there, they have got even people down from Polonnaruwa. Now it's moving down on to Batiklo. I said we'll make all the resources available. The Minister is keeping an eye on the Batiklo situation. But there seems to be a spread of disease. I mean, we have to be careful here. We have it in Kalam, but there seems to be a series of epidemics that are going on and we'll have to be more on the alert to ensure that it doesn't.
Especially with the tourism, Honourable Prime Minister, malaria and cholera used to be a problem. Now people are having travel advices are all concerned with regard to the dengue. So
You've been very
No, we want to get it under control with the tourist season in the eastern province.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa called Sri Lankan delegates in Geneva to make clear that the country will not need foreign judges to investigate allegations of war crimes. One of our ministers have gone to Geneva and said that we have committed war crimes and they are ready to have investigations. That too, they do not have an issue of bringing foreign judges and will allow them even if there is a necessity of amending the constitution. But the President and Prime Minister says there is no point in making such comments at the UNHCR because they will not allow so. They have been saying that in Parliament from recently. There is no point in saying that in Parliament or at local meeting. Instead of this should be stated in Geneva. The minister must now say he is against this and withdraw from co-sponsoring the resolution. This is the first time in the world that a government is calling for investigations into their own country. Why do we need foreign judges when we have local judges? If there are foreign judges, we could release people, but with our local judges, that will not be easy. The independence of judiciary remains a problem. In other local stories, parliamentarian Bimal Weerwansa today continued his hunger strike for a second day in prison. Weerwansa has also sent a 10-page letter to the Speaker yesterday concerning his continued detention and bail refusal. Weerwansa's letter to the Speaker reads, and I quote, "I firmly believe that they are not granting me bail due to the requirement of top government officials. If the court can prove that I am guilty of any accusations, I am ready to face it. Yet keeping me in remand custody has deprived my duty to serve the people who appointed me. I also like to emphasize that the intention of my hunger strike is not to influence courts," unquote. Parliamentarian Bimal Weerwansa was arrested on the 10th of January for allegedly misusing 40 vehicles belonging to the State Engineering Corporation during his tenure as Minister of Construction, Engineering Services, Housing and Common Amenities. Meanwhile, the Parliament discussed on parliamentarian Bimal Weerwansa's hunger strike today. There was a discussion in Parliament earlier that Bimal Weerwansa was arrested because of political revenge. Then yesterday, they accused me and Deputy Minister Lasantha Alagiwanna, but we are innocent. Please explain this to us. Although I am the Justice Minister, it is through media that I got to know why parliamentarian Bimal Weerwansa was arrested. It was not the President or Prime Minister who did that. He was arrested by the police. We made the police department an independent entity. They have a police commission now. We have no right to give any directives to them. Why would we take revenge from him? Is he even the opposition leader? Why should we debate on this when the judiciary is to give a ruling on Weerwansa? Yes, launching a hunger strike might work, but that has to be done properly. Having orange juice or king coconut water will not work.
Meanwhile, parliamentary proceedings were disrupted due to several power outages.
What happened to the electricity?
We can go on. Go ahead. Yeah.
Can I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Then, Karu.
On to business news now. Testifying before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating central bank bond issuance, today, former Deputy Governor of Central Bank, Ananda Silva, revealed that a meeting was held with the participation of several ministers at the central bank the day before the controversial Treasury bond auction. Among them were Ministers Ravi Karunanayake, Kabir Hashim, and then Chairman of United National Party, Malik Samaravikrama.
As per permission granted by the Presidential Commission of Inquiry investigating central bank bond issuances, former Governor of Central Bank Arjuna Mahendran was present in the audience during the hearing. Senior State Counsel Avanti Pereira began questioning former Deputy Governor of Central Bank Ananda Silva on a meeting held on the day before the February 27, 2015 Treasury bond auction. Ananda Silva said the breakfast meeting on the 26th of February 2015 was held with the participation of officials of Road Development Authority, Minister of Finance Ravi Karnanayaka, Minister of Highways Kabir Hashim, and then Chairman of UNP Malik Samaravikrama, who did not hold a ministerial position at the time. The former Deputy Governor further revealed that the meeting focused on funds needed for road construction projects. The Commission then inquired whether there was any decision made regarding an immediate fund requirement that had to be fulfilled during the auction the following day. The former Deputy Governor responded that the discussion focused on a review of certain contracts, although a final decision on immediate funds requirement was not made. The Presidential Commission will reconvene on Monday.
Well, the Colombo equities continue to remain on negative side ahead of the monetary review. The all-share index dipped 16.80, while the 20 scrip S&P SL index lost 11.73 index points. Daily market turnover managed to cross 600 million rupees. And now we have the daily market update with Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange.
Top 5 gainers of the day were SNB Leasing, Non-Voting, Swarna Mahal Financial Services, People's Merchant Finance, Blue Diamonds Jewellery, Ceylon and Foreign Trades, while the top 5 losers were Hapugastan Plantations, Orient Finance, Samsung International, Guest of Ceylon and Renuka Holdings, non-voting. Today's foreign purchases were 476.55 million rupees and foreign sales were 282.55 million rupees.
Well, here's a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day today. On to sports news now. The ICC Champions Trophy 2017 was launched in Sri Lanka today in front of Sri Lanka cricket. The ICC Champions Trophy journey began on March 2nd when it departed from India to travel through Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, South Africa, New Zealand and Australia before arriving in the UK on May 2nd.
8 teams will be playing 15 ODI matches over 18 days at 3 different venues in England and Wales for the 8th ICC Champions Trophy. Sri Lanka joins defending champion India, South Africa and Pakistan in Group B, while Australia, England, New Zealand and Bangladesh are the teams named in Group A. The first match of the tournament is set to be played between hosts England and Bangladesh on June 1st at the Oval, London.
We are expecting to win this tournament, but we should first win the Bangladesh tournament and then take that momentum to England.
Although Sri Lanka suffered a disappointment in the second test against visitors Bangladesh, skipper Angelo Matthews said the team is hoping to strike back in the remaining matches.
We are so upset about losing that match in Colombo after winning in goal. But this is a good opportunity to step forward. We are not expecting to lose the remaining matches by thinking much about the defeat we suffered. We are hoping to perform well in the next matches.
A bit of tennis news now. Australian Ashley Barty advanced to the second round of the Miami Open, handing former top 5 player Eugene Bouchard her 5th consecutive loss at Miami. This was the first time that the pair faced as opponents on the match court.
Miami Open produced quite a few enticing has the edge in the rankings for Barty.
20-year-old Ashley Barty stretched her winning streak to 8 matches, showing an impressive comeback against the standard setter, defeating former world number 5 Eugene Bouchard. At 3-all, Barty broke with a forehand winner. She then saved a pair of break points to go up 5-3 and broke again when Bouchard double faulted twice in a row to set up 3 match points.
Game, set and match, Barty. 2 sets to 1.
Well, that expression maybe suggests that she felt it wasn't her.
The win was recorded as 6-4, 5-7, 6-3 in all 3 sets. Next up for Bharti is an all-Australian match against 2011 US Open champion Sam Stosur, who is seeded 14th.
Some relief.
On to international news now. As London was thrown into chaos after an attacker struck Westminster near the Houses of Parliament, Scotland Yard says the man police believe to be responsible for the terrorist attack in Westminster has been formally identified as a 52-year-old Khalid Masood. Earlier in the day, 8 arrests were made in connection with the terror strike that left 4 dead, including the attacker, and at least 40 others injured. British Prime Minister Theresa May denounced the incident, calling it sick and depraved.
The attack took place at about 2:40 p.m. local time when the attacker drove a car along a pavement over Westminster Bridge, killing at least 2 and injuring many more. The car then crashed into a railing outside Parliament. The attacker, armed with a knife, then ran towards Parliament, where he was intercepted by police. He then turned on 48-year-old veteran police constable Keith Palmer, who was unarmed at the time, and stabbed him several times, killing him. The attacker was then shot dead by police officers at the scene. Speaking to media at Downing Street, British Premier Theresa May condemned the attack.
We will come together as normal, and we will all move forward together, never giving in to terror, and never allowing the voices of hate and evil to drive us apart.
In other international stories, a fire broke out and a series of explosions rocked a massive ammunition warehouse in eastern Ukraine today, forcing the evacuation of about 20,000 people. The disaster has been described by officials as an act of sabotage as investigations continue.
The explosions happened early today and authorities are trying to find the exact cause but cite sabotage as a possibility. No injuries or deaths have been reported as yet, but everyone within a 10-kilometer radius of the warehouse is being evacuated. The warehouse, which covers over 350 hectares and contains about 138,000 tons of ammunition, is located around 100 kilometers away from the front line of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia-backed separatists.
On to the weather now. Mainly fair weather will prevail over most parts of the island. However, showers or thunder showers may occur at a few places in the Kaluthara, Gaul and Ratnapura districts in the late afternoon. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the western, Sabaragamuwa and central provinces during the morning hours as well. Here's your city-by-city forecast. Well, that is a part of your world tonight right here on Other Derana 24/7. For the latest in local, international, business, sports, weather or entertainment news, log on to www.otherderana.lk or like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at Other Derana. And before we go, here's some sights and sounds of one of our Sri Lanka's national treasures, the Singaraja rainforest, one of the main biodiversity hotspots in Sri Lanka. Other Derana news at 9 will return tomorrow. Join us then and have a good night.
information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.